Yep. We're shaking, Row Radio. Today's Saturday. Um, Saturn rules Capricorn, right? The sign Capricorn. Capricorn is the goat. How we look at the goat symbolism in our society, in mainstream society, and how goat sacrifices operate with celebrities and public figures, and how ancient practices and those rituals affect our collective consciousness now, right? So boom. So goat or goat. What do ancient sacrifices and modern fame have in common, right? So we explore the intersection of ancient ritual, modern fame, and media narratives through the lens of the goat. Both as a badge of honor. The badge of honor means the greatest of all time. There's a lot of people talking about the GOAT, and there's a reason why we say GOAT. It's not just like that. Doesn't just like hip hop was is orchestrated, just like celebrities are orchestrated, just like the news, media, narratives, and orchestrated. Everything is orchestrated and placed in front of you, social media, and used to steer the collective consciousness of humanity. So people say GOAT and just think that all right, that's what we say, but it's put there. You know what I'm saying? Like Martin Luther King was put there in front of us. Columbus was put there in front of us, and so on and so forth. So, right now, people think the GOAT is the greatest of all time, as an acronym, right? But it's also a scapegoat. So, beneficial and malefic, similar to the Saturn sign that Capricorn is in, right? So, drawn from biblical tradition, celebrity culture, and contemporary events, will reveal a pattern of symbolic sacrifice and manipulation of public consciousness, right? So boom. So this is the ritual piece of it that comes from biblical foundation, but before that. So the ritual is two goats stand before the high priest, right? One is crowned, one is exiled. And then 1,000 years later, we still play the same game. Only now our altar is a screen and our social media platforms that we go on. They're goat rituals for the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time is obviously the president, and every 4 years we have a presidential election that shows who's the greatest person of all time to quote unquote run this bum ass government that we have, right? So the biblical foundation is the scapegoat ritual, right? They call somebody a scapegoat, like damn, he was a scapegoat for, whatever, crimes or however they, want to create the narrative. But again, the biblical foundation is this. Two goats were selected by the high priest. So one was selected for the Lord, and it was sacrificed on the altar. And then the other one was for Azazel, right? And Azazel is angel. So, and that one was cast into the wilderness. So that one goes out into the wilderness and finds its own way. Ends up probably getting killed by a predator because it's prey. That's why people pray. And then one is going out for the Lord, right? And that one's sacrificed. So they literally in front of the people on the altar for their God, the high priest sacrificed the goat. So that's the scapegoat ritual. So the symbolism is this, right? The symbolism is the confession of sins. So the priest is obviously it's Israel's priest. So this is where it gets spicy. The priest transfers all of Israel's sins onto the scapegoat. So the other one that goes into the wilderness, they know it's going to die. It's not going to be able to sustain itself. It's going to get killed by all kind of lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! So the goat, the death in the wilderness, ritualistically, the goat removed guilt from the collective community of Israel. So now, what does Israel run? Israel runs a lot of the media, a lot of our narratives that are put in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Music, entertainment. The medical facilities, banking, legal, jewelry, like you name it. You know what I'm saying? So people that are from Israel or have ties to Israel run a lot of our narratives, right? So now bring it back to the symbolism. If the priest can ritualistically kill a goat on an altar, and in their mind, they can transfer the sins onto the scapegoat. And then everything that they've done by killing by killing the goat on their altar, now is they're good. Like that's it. You're washed of your sins. And then the other goat that goes into the wilderness, it's like you ain't gotta think about it because we put all of that on the back of the goat. So now watch how this ties into modern goat sacrifice. So boom. So from the temple to TMZ, right? So modern scapegoats. So the celebrities of today, because celebrities are owned pretty much and ran and orchestrated by high priests of, quote, of Israel, the small hats and things like that. So celebrities today become the symbolic vessels for collective sin and cultural narrative. I'll say it again. Celebrities today become symbolic vessels, just like the goats. So we call them goats all the time. There's a reason why we say things over and over and over, and it's a mantra. It becomes a mantra, it becomes a frequency, it becomes a vibration that we put out into the collective. Yo, that's the goat. I bet. We run this person. We pay this person. They have contracts. They have blood oaths with us. They do baby oil rituals with us, or whatever they got going on. You know what I'm saying? So they're able to use that celebrity as a symbolic vessel for the collective sin, their collective sin, not the collective sin of everybody, the collective sin of Israel, because that's where the ritual is orchestrated for, and cultural narrative. So the more fame or godlike status that one attains, the more likely they're able to become the sacrificial goat, which is the greatest of all time. Right? So take Jordan, right? GOAT is greatest of all time. That means they're legendary or glorified. And then after the fact, it's the scapegoat is somebody who is blamed, mocked, and sacrificed. So just duality at its core. From everybody wants to see it, not wants to. A lot of people subconsciously have been trained or love to see the rise and fall of a martyr or of somebody who is from rags to riches and then back to rags again, and so on and so forth. So these are gold goats in celebrity and rituals that are used so that Israel or the people who represent the scapegoat ritual can relieve their collective sin, not the sin of the goat in their people. Boom. So let's go through some modern day celebrity sacrifices and symbolic suffering, right? So we got Todd Smith LL, right? So he had the GOAT album in 2000, right? So he had to pay his dues, or decided to, or whatever, by supporting the LGB whatever project that they had, I believe, in the past few years. We came out during Pride something, and now he's rocking, supporting that. And coming from a genre of super masculine, hip hop, to be down with the LGBTQ whatever is totally opposite of what that genre represents. So it's a sacrifice that he has to do in order to pay his dues to the people that run, you know what I'm saying, the media, so to speak, right? So Simone Biles, so she's considered the greatest, and on floor gymnasts and things like that, Olympics, right? But she went through a lot of stuff as well. And it's also like this stuff could be subjective, right? So people are going to go through stuff, and everybody has issues in life. We all go through sacrifices. We all have, we have sacrifices to make in life, time, and things, in love and things like that. But I'm just bringing up how these people are put on altars and sacrificed right in front of us, whether we realize it or not. And the more we call and use the names and collectively agree, then they're able to use their ritual and divert the energy that we provide as somebody we may provide. Our daughter loves Simone Biles, you know what I'm saying, and what she represents and how she operates in terms of her skill level. But their skill level doesn't determine how their energy is used overall. It's good to look at during the Olympics or whatever she's training for, but after that energy is used, and it's used for these purposes, to remove the collective sin of Israel, so to speak, in a scapegoat ritual, right? So she was abused. Simone Biles was abused by Larry Nassar. How he was abused by and he was a team doctor. She was sexually abused by, and this was put in the public media. So that's you know what I'm saying? That's like, any shaming, disrespect, that stuff doesn't have to come into the media. So the USA team doctor was allowed to abuse this young child. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, just think about what it takes to be abused and have your team doctor who has to look at you and, touch you all the time, and you're being abused. Come on, is that not accepted for her to be moved along, along the ladder of celebrity and things like that, right? So that's crazy. So she lost her aunt unexpectedly right before the 2020 Tokyo Games. So right before the 2020 Tokyo Games, she loses her aunt. So that's 2 days before she returns to the competition, she loses her aunt. the sacrifice thing. If we don't understand sacrifices and what celebrities are doing, or what they're forced to do, or what they agree to, whether we appreciate it or not, sacrifices are there. Blood sacrifices, family sacrifices, whatever. And then her brother also faced murder charges that he was acquitted for 2021. So obviously, things can happen. People die every day. You know what I'm saying? Niggas die every day. But when it comes to the correlation of the thread that I'm connecting all of this stuff to the scapegoat ritual and to the ritual of the goat, then it's right here in front of us. And then there's Tom Brady. So they call Tom Brady goat all the time, right? So this translates race, gender, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because they're still controlled by a certain priesthood. And the priesthood is, we think it's like executives, but these executives are priests or have access to priests that tell them how to move based upon the deities that they serve and what energy they want to, move in. So Tom Brady had the roast, you know what I'm saying? The greatest of all time. They had the roast with Kevin Hart and all of that. And they roasted him, you know what I'm saying? It's like they do with a lot of people that are quote unquote great. They roast them. All right, cool. You roast them, talk shit about them, blah, blah, blah. But also what was crazy is that during that time, or right before he retired and all of that, he lost his wife. You know what I'm saying? He sacrificed his wife, his family. So I think a jiu-jitsu dude or something like that, her trainer. So these people have handlers, these people have, their phones are probably tapped. Like, there's so much surveillance on these people. They know exactly what's going on. So those that with high levels of access are able to tap into these people, know exactly what they're doing. Probably tap into their systems in the house, and like, it gets crazy. Like, they live a whole nother lifestyle, especially people who are goats, because their energy has to be constantly monitored. They're not just walking around going to Target, you know what I'm saying, and doing certain regular smuggler shit. They doing other things, so they have to, or greater things to the people. So they're watched. So if somebody's wife is being lost, these things can be orchestrated, is what I'm saying. You can orchestrate a career, you can orchestrate a game or multiple games, you can orchestrate playoff events, you can orchestrate narratives and false flags and all kind of stuff. You could orchestrate the destruction of somebody's family member. So maybe he agreed to it or not, who knows, it doesn't matter. But he lost his wife, you know what I'm saying, along all of this. You know what I'm saying? But he's considered the GOAT. So boom, then there's LeBron, right? So he's sacrificed. It could be considered celebrity sacrifice can be considered through his son, who had a cardiac arrest at USC practice. Like, at the practice, he has cardiac arrest. He's 18 years old. That's crazy. Right after they gave everybody the jab and all of that. Crazy. Just hit him with the, you know what I'm saying? Hit him with the heart shot. And then everything that went after that when he came to the NBA, and then, was publicly scrutinized, and the media all on his back about, not being good or good. That's a humiliation ritual, sacrificial ritual. Like, all right, if you're going to come and beat us, you're going to get this nepotism, but, you know what I'm saying, you have to deal with this public shaming. All right, boom, there's Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player, one of the greatest soccer players ever, so they say. So he got a bunch of shit going on with him. So he lost a baby, one of his twin babies, in 2021. He lost an aunt in 2023. His father passed in 2005, and his cousin died in a car accident. All throughout his career. Right? You know what I'm saying? Then there's Drake. So you got Drake, who got, All For All My Dogs album, which is the GOAT symbolism right there. Who the GOAT? Say it then. Who the GOAT? Say it then. You know what I'm saying? And right after that came out, and he was sacrificed, or his image was sacrificed, for Kendrick, who's part of the UMG management, I believe, or whatever, Universal Music Group. For Kendrick to rise, Drake and all his accomplishments, so to speak, was sacrificed on a public altar for Kendrick to perform at the Super Bowl and do all his tours and media. So if you don't see that everything that Kendrick was promoted for and put up for, you know what I'm saying, it was a tour. It was just to do the Super Bowl and his tour. It's like Beyonce's always on tour, and they, hype that up. This was a marketing scheme to sacrifice one of their greats, Drake. You know what I'm saying? First person shooter, put him down to the side, and then put up Kendrick so that he could rise under the same management group or under the same distribution label. And they make all of the bread from the touring and the Super Bowls and all. They get a piece of all of that. So all that was just to promote Kendrick. And if they decide they want Drake to come back, then they'll shut down Kendrick. Doesn't matter how lyrically talented you are and all that. Yeah, that's great. They're both, they're both musical greats and icons. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, come on, it was just for Kendrick to perform his tour and do a Super Bowl run. That's that, right? And then also you could say that he sacrificed his son for the internet. Who even knows if that's allegedly his even son? He pops him out, brings him out every once in a while, like you know what I'm saying? But the whole Adonis thing and Adonis being a Greek demigod and all of that. You know what I'm saying? It's sacrificial, at the least. Boom. So then we got Sean Carter, and he has a ton of GOAT references. So there's a ton of stuff that goes along with his rise to power, or rise to fame, or rise to goathood, so to speak. So and this is how you know this shit is exactly as they plan it to be, because at 33 he met with his pops. When Jay was 33, he met with his pops. He forgave him for not being there or whatever. And then shortly after, his dad dies of liver failure. So soon as he, in 2003, so soon as he meets his pops, after who he didn't have a relationship with his whole life, he met him at the age, quote unquote, 33. He loved the number 33. So he forgave him. And then shortly after that, pops died of liver failure. Boom, gone. I love you, Dad. You remember, you got to be careful who you say you love out here. Because everybody don't love you in the way that they think you do. And they will put you up for sacrifice for their own benefit. If you can't see that's happening in front of anybody who has like deaths in their family and they celebrate that and they come up after that, they have to be scrutinized, or be wise to scrutinize. Like, okay, I see you. You know what I'm saying? You put your people up so that you could, move forward in this matrix system that we in. So boom. In addition to Jay and as well, obviously Emery goes to jail. Dame and people speak about this so much. I mean, come on. His man Emery went to jail. You could say he sacrificed Dame for increased stardom to move out of the whole hood thing and go into stick with Warren Buffett and whoever the fuck else is, Oprah and whatever else. Sacrifice Rockaware and the distribution of all the stuff they had going on with Dame and Biggs and all of that to go do his own thing and be his own GOAT, his own business GOAT, his own personal whatever he wanted to do, right? Then you got Clarissa Shields. So Clarissa Shields is considered the GWOAT, GWOAT, greatest woman of all time. So you can see her, rise to stardom very fast. And these things they could manufacture a rise to stardom so quickly because you have the resources, you could understand what's trending, and you can push people's narratives so easily with social media now. Like social media and podcasts are being promoted on news channels. So news channels are tapping into what podcasts are saying and what people are saying and whatever, and using that as part of their news. You know what I'm saying? Like news. This is what happened on this so and so. It's a whole shit show as far as content. So they have all these algorithms and stuff to make whatever narratives they want stick, whether we like the shit or not. So on April 1st, for Clarissa Shields, she is a great boxer or whatever, as far as I could tell. But anyway, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, her nephew was stabbed to death. You got to be careful of April 1st rituals, them, 4/2 rituals, and shit like that. But on April 1st, her nephew was stabbed to death. Her sister was in a serious car accident. And, to tap into Papoose, who could be considered one of the lyrical GOATs, one of the all-time lyrical greatest, he could say that he sacrificed his marriage to be with, quote-unquote, Clarissa in the public image. They didn't have to do all of that public back and forth with the other dude. And you don't got to do all of that. You can just separate from the person that you with and then keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? But when they have handlers and people over them in that public spotlight, like they could be goaded, goaded or pushed or whatever to publicize and be shamed as far as even just putting certain content out there. And now they're at odds, and it's just shaming. And it's consistently like that. So there's a lot more instances of this. I just wanted to connect the dots on how people operate in this, and then how all this stuff is used. People get mixed up in the drama of whatever's going on. Oh, this person lost this person lost their wife, family, blah blah blah. But if you look at it as a case study, there's threads that tie directly to the priests that run them, and the priests that run them use these shaming rituals. One of them goes out into the wilderness. One of them, let's say, goes to get sacrificed on the altar. And they do this over and over and over again for their quote-unquote goats. And now they're able to move their sins of Israel to they absolve themselves from it. And since we collectively agree to it and call them goats, we support it, whether we realize this shit or not. So what is it that you want to support? Do you want to support the absolving of somebody else's quote unquote sins based upon biblical tradition and all that stuff that we run upon? Put your hand on the Bible and the time and everything that's run through a biblical narrative that pretty much runs this world right now? Or do we want to do something that's more collective for our personal growth and our personal being, our personal, ability to be phenomenal and great, as opposed to watching other people be great and go through these processes. So boom, the spiritual loophole, right? Those who control cultural capital use these rituals to avoid karmic balance. I'll say that again. This is a spiritual loophole. Remember, these people are great with legalities in law. Everybody have me rappers say, I got a small hat lawyer. He's gonna get me out of jail. I mean, it's just right in front of your face. I got a lawyer. I got a small hat lawyer. Yeah, I'm gonna get out this case. I mean, they're great with, beyond that, they're great with legality, the legalese. It's a whole nother language, whole nother world. Banking, you know what I'm saying? So many connections, like we just running around, literally like sheep. But anyway, spiritual loophole is those who control cultural capital use these rituals to avoid karmic balance, right? So the symbolic bloodshed of people who die, or whatever that goes on with these goats, replaces accountability. Symbolic bloodshed replaces accountability for the person or for the people, the priest controlling the person or celebrity. And we, the public, acts as an unwitting congregation. So we're watching the aunt or cousin or baby die on behalf of that person. We're the congregation. I turn stadiums into churches. You know what I'm saying? This is how things operate. I turn TV screens into altars. So the public is used as a congregation to create these spiritual loopholes so that the priests who control these celebrities can avoid karmic balance. This is how they escape karma. It's like you realize that they never get what they deserve because we allow it through universal consent, informed consent. Go. You know what I'm saying? Watching this shit and agree, oh man, he lost his dad, he lost his this, Jordan lost his dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, or yo, that's like all that stuff is congregational. We're congregating and collectively thinking about this shit and moving it forward in a way that's like supporting it because we're emotionally attached to it, right? And then all this energy is redirected to empower the media gods. And then looking at, Jesus, he was the ultimate scapegoat. He resolved everybody, go through him, and then now all your sins could be resolved. So he took all the public shaming, all the whatever, so it's a similar concept. You know what I'm saying? So he took all of the shaming so that humanity or people that's, bow to him or pray to him or whatever, will now be able to be absolved of their sins. So it's the same, they run the same plays over and over in different ways. So I'm pointing out the plays like, they're running the same play again. Why don't we get better so that we cannot be destroyed by these banana in the tailpipe, Princeton back door, you know what I'm saying? Loop-de-loop plays so that they can run their loopholes. Because this shit ain't working for the masses, quote unquote. It's not working for every person. There's enough resources and things like that here that we're able to thrive. Everybody's able to thrive. We'll have struggle, we'll have, conflict, we live in a dualistic world. But there's enough here for people don't gotta be twisted in the way that they're twisted. There's a better level of physical lifestyle. But if we keep collectively giving this energy to these people who are using it for their own benefit and keeping it quiet and, playing a charade of mystery and all of that, mysticism and all of that, and keeping people under bondage and religion and, stupid shit, then they're able to run the same plays over and over because people agree to it. So Jesus is the ultimate scapegoat, and now the masses worship the same formula in mainstream media. So final insights: by elevating and then casting down cultural figures, so the rise and fall, we reenact the sacred formula in the secular gods. The media's manipulation of this process allows powerful institutions to fulfill spiritual requirements without direct consequence. I'll say that again. The media's manipulation of this process allows powerful institutions, entertainment, so on and so forth, to fulfill spiritual requirements, karma, releasing of sin, releasing of karma, releasing of sin, releases of collective guilt from them without direct consequence. So know the pattern and recognize the symbolism in plain sight. Next time you see a goat fall, you can ask yourself, who gains from their exile into the wilderness? The wilderness is always crowded and the altar is always hungry. Scapegoat ritual is two goats. One goes into the wilderness, so that's social media or whatever, they're going out into the wilderness, and one is on the altar. The altar is the one who sacrificed in public humiliation, public whatever. The wilderness is crowded. The altar is always hungry. The honor and respect to everybody listening. Raw Radio.